Ilu hotzianu mimitzrayim, hotzianu mimitzrayim, dayenu. Dayenu, dayenu, dayenu.
Ellie Sorock and Gary Sorock. We have been a partnership for 44 years.
Yes.
And we celebrate both Jewish and a lot of Christian holidays. But this is the start. We are modeling the start of an important Jewish holiday, which is Passover. And all holidays start with candlelighting.
And I'll finish that task, I hope, if this wick is...
Complaining. All right.
Okay.
All right. And there is a blessing for it.
All right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel yom tov.
Amen.
Praised are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with his commandments and commands us to light the holiday lights. And we are going to start with our first glass of wine or grape juice. They are both the fruit of the vine. And especially if you are drinking wine, you're drinking over the course of a full Seder meal 4 3-ounce glasses, not 8-ounce glasses. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. And then, because we have come to a new season of the year, something that we've done for the first time, or the first time in a long time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehekianu v'kihimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Praised are you, Lord our God, for keeping us alive and sustaining us and allowing us to reach this season of joy. And we drink the first cup leaning on the elbow. And this is one time when you do not obey your mother and say, sit up straight and don't put your elbows on the table, because you are free people and you can recline.
This is taken after a Roman symposium of the day to indicate that we're free people and we're able to relax and have a big feast with grape juice, maybe wine as well. Yeah.
Right. And then we start, ordinarily, if this were a Friday night, we'd go from candles to wine or grape juice to the meal. But it's one of the ways in which things are shaken up to give people an opportunity to ask questions. So instead of starting with the meal, we're just going to start off with a green vegetable, which symbolizes spring, and we're dipping it in salt water, which symbolizes tears, because we have both joy and sorrow. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'adamah.
Praise are you, Lord our God, for creating the fruit
of the earth. Before we were talking about the fruit of the vine, this is the fruit of the earth. All right. Break the middle matzah.
Okay.
We have a total of at least 3 matzahs, and the second one gets broken. And if we had kids and we were doing the whole thing, we would be hiding half the middle matzah. And That middle matzah is the very last bite of solid food of the meal, and you can't finish the meal until you found it, which means that it's usually found by the younger members of the Seder, and they get a bribe, like some candy, to give it back. Now, we are actually going to be starting the narration.
Do you want that? Or you want
Yeah. Oh, plate of matzah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the bread of affliction, which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. All who are in need, let them come celebrate Passover. Now we are here, next year in the land of Israel. Now we are enslaved, next year we will be free. And we're going to cover the matzah back up and fill the second cup, but we don't drink from it yet. Okay. And the 4 questions are, drum roll please, one of the kids' parts. Gary, do you remember being the youngest child and having to ask these questions?
I was quite nervous about all of this. Much tension in the air because everyone is silent and listening to me about to chant in Hebrew. And I was a little bit unsure of myself, but I got through it. And I think I could do it today a little bit from memory, maybe the first one. Anyway.
Okay, so we're going to start it in English, which is what I also handed out to the Sunday school students on last Sunday, and then we'll chant just the first part of it in Hebrew. Why is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights we eat either leavened bread or matzah. Why tonight only matzah? On all other nights we eat all kinds of vegetables. Why tonight bitter herbs? On all other nights we usually do not dip vegetables even once. Why tonight do we dip twice? On all other nights we eat in an ordinary way. Why tonight do we eat with special ceremony? And then we're going to chant the first of the 4 blessings, or questions in Hebrew. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot, mikol haleilot, shebechol haleilot, anu ochlim chametz u'matzah, chametz u'matzah. Halayla hazeh, kulo matzah. Halayla hazeh, kulo matzah.
So you see what we're doing here is presenting the whole community with questions already formed, and the youngest kid has to ask those to get the ball rolling. But the idea is to continue to ask questions through the whole process. So we're learning as much as we can.
Right. So let's begin the story. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, but the Lord our God brought us forth with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm.
And if the Holy One, praised be He, had not taken our ancestors out of Egypt, then we and our children and our children's children would still be enslaved to Pharaoh in Egypt.
Now, even if all of us were scholars, even if all of us were sages, even if all of us were learned in the Torah, which means teaching, it would still be our duty to tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. Moreover, whoever elaborates upon the story of the Exodus deserves praise.
In the beginning, our ancestors served idols, but then God embraced us so that we might serve Him.
Praised be He who keeps His promises. Praised be He who foresaw both our enslavement and our redemption when He made the covenant with our father Abraham and our mother Sarah.
Okay.
It is this promise that has sustained our ancestors and us, for not just one enemy has arisen to destroy us. Rather, in every generation, there are those who seek our destruction, but the Holy One, praised be He, saves us from their hands.
Consider these verses. My father was a wandering Aramaean, an Iraqi, and with just a few people, he went down to Egypt and sojourned there.
And there he became a great nation, mighty and numerous.
The Egyptians dealt harshly with us and oppressed us.
We cried out to the Lord, the God of our ancestors, and the Lord heard our plea and saw our affliction, our misery, and our oppression.
Then the Lord took us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with awesome power, with signs and with wonders.
Because we regret the death of even our worst enemies, we reduce our joy by removing a drop of wine or juice with a fingertip for each of the 10 plagues the Lord inflicted on the Egyptians. Blood, frogs, vermin, beasts, cattle plague, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, death of the firstborn. When they were told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his courtiers had a change of heart and said, "What have we done releasing Israel from our service?"
The Egyptians gave chase and overtook them encamped by the sea.
The Israelites went into the sea on dry ground, the waters forming a wall for them on their right and on their left.
The Egyptians pursued the Israelites into the sea, all of Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and horsemen.
Then the waters turned back and covered all the horses, chariots, and horsemen. Of Pharaoh's entire army, not a single one remained. We'll go over to Dayenu. We can also sing Dayenu, a song that means it would have been enough to bring us out of Egypt, to give us the Sabbath, to give us the Torah. And I would point out here that this is family singing. It doesn't matter if you're in tune. It doesn't matter if you're on the beat. Ilu hotzi hotzi anu mi Mitzrayim hotzi anu mi Mitzrayim daenu 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 Ilu natan lanu et hashabbat daenu 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 Ilu natan lanu et haTorah natan lanu et haTorah daenu 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 daenu. Rabban Gamliel, who lived about the end of the 1st century of the Common Era, said, "Those who have not explained 3 things during the Seder have not fulfilled their obligation."
These 3 things are the Passover Offering, matzah, and maror.
Why did our ancestors eat the Passover offering at their Seder? As a reminder that the Holy One, praised be He, passed over Pasach, in Hebrew, the Israelite dwellings in Egypt. As it is written, "You shall say, it is the Pesach offering to the Lord, because he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians." The blood from the sacrificed lamb or kid was placed on the doorposts of the Israelite houses so that the angel of death would know which houses to pass over and protect them. The lamb or kid is represented on our Seder plate by a roasted beet. The vegetarian equivalent is a roasted, well, this is the vegetarian equivalent, or a shank bone. The matzah. Why do we eat it? To remind ourselves that even before the dough of our ancestors had time to arrive, the supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, praised be He, revealed Himself and redeemed him, as it is written.
And they baked the dough which they had brought from Egypt into unleavened cakes, or matzot. It did not rise, since they were hurried out of Egypt, and they could not delay, nor had they prepared provisions for themselves. Maror,
the bitter herb. This is horseradish. Why do we eat it? To remind ourselves that, as it is written, the Egyptians embittered the lives of our ancestors with hard labor in mortar and in brick and in every manner of drudgery in the field, and worked them ruthlessly in all their labor. In every generation, every individual should feel as though he or she had actually been redeemed from Egypt. Therefore, we must revere, exalt, extol, acclaim, adore, and glorify God, who performed all these miracles for our ancestors and for us. He took us from slavery to freedom, from despair to joy, from mourning to celebration, from darkness to light, and from enslavement to redemption, and we sing before Him a new song. Hallelujah. Hey.
Second cup.
We are up to the second cup. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. All right. Matzah. Okay, middle, you break the middle and half the top.
Middle and half the top?
Right. Okay. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Praised are you, Lord our God, who brings forth bread from the earth. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. Amen. Praised are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with His commandments and commands us to eat matzah.
Share the top and middle.
Right. Now, we're only going to eat an absolute nibble because we're supposed to refrain from matzah for the month before Passover so that it will taste new and fresh when we have the Seder. Now, we are using both, these are romaine stems, and you don't think of them as bitter or nasty at the beginning until you have dipped them into and eaten them. And we're going to be dipping them into charoset, which is apples, nuts, cinnamon, and wine or grape juice, and it stands for the bricks and mortar that the Israelites had. First of all, they had to build, and secondly, they had to bake the bricks to make into the building materials. Okay, and we're supposed to sit straight up like plebes at West Point or slaves. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. Praised are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with his commandments and commands us to eat bitter herbs. And finally, bottom matzah, we need for the Hillel Sandwich. Rabbi Hillel was a prominent teacher from about 80 before the Common Era until about 10 of the Common Era. Yeah. So his teachings would have been probably been familiar to Jesus. But he wanted people to make a sandwich to eat together, haroset and purple horseradish between two pieces, and make it eat them together. And at this point,
symbolism of this?
Yes, this is the bricks and mortar.
Bricks and mortar, and the
horseradish is the bitter
herb. Right. For remembering all the work that was very difficult to do.
Mm-hmm. We always have a joke at our Seder that it should say, spill the first glass of wine here.
Yeah, because there's all this grape juice or wine being passed around.
And beets, and so that is what the first part of the Seder would be. Fully, we would sing more before, and then after the meal, there is another grace after the meal, because you're supposed to say grace after you have satisfied yourself. A third cup of wine. Psalms, that section from 113 to 118. Some singing.
Searching for the...
And in the meantime, and before we can even finish the meal, someone has to find that half a matzah.
Yeah, that's hidden. Kids have to play hide and seek, kind of. Or adults hide and the kids seek.
Right. And then a final cup of wine or grape juice. And it does explain why Jesus was talking about taking the cup at the end of the meal, because it was traditional to use a cup of wine with the grace after meals. And that is what we have. I think...
You want to sing the song? Oh, this first song or not? It's up to you.
What would you like to say? Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a
Do
song.
you have some time?
Oh, this yeah.
Okay. All right. This is start off at the beginning to warm people up, to relax people, to say this is a fun time and not us.
Right.
And it's to a tune that Gary's grandmother always loved. Even when she could no longer talk, she could sing.
Take me out to the ball game.
So this is Take Me Out to the Seder.
Yeah.
Take me out to the Seder. Take me out with the crowd. Feed me on matzah and chicken legs. I don't care for the hard-boiled eggs and its root for Elijah, that he will soon reappear. And let's hope that we'll meet once again next year. Take me out to the Seder. Take me out with the crowd. Read the Haggadah, don't skip a word. Please hold your talking, we want to be heard. And let's root for the leader, that he will finish his meal. So we can nosh, and by gosh, let us eat the meal. And speaking of women as leaders,
This is good.
at one point, traditionalists would say, women don't belong in the pulpit. That's like putting an orange on the Seder plate. So, especially in honor of Pastor Cox, Rabbi Sharon Henry,
Rod of Shalom.
Rod of Shalom, that is our orange on the Seder plate.
That's it.
That's it.
That's great. That's fantastic.